Hello, my name is Jenny Penfold and I'm part of the Open the Book team. I hope you'll remember that last term we told you stories mainly about Moses. Now Moses was a Hebrew and he lived with many other Hebrews in Egypt. The Hebrews were slaves in Egypt and had to do exactly what the Egyptians wanted them to do. So God asked Moses to take all the Hebrews out of Egypt so they wouldn't need to be slaves anymore, and he promised them a land of their own. So now Moses has died, and today we're going to hear a story about a person called Samuel. So let's begin the story about Samuel. During the story, I will put pictures up here to help you follow the story. Do you ever wake up during the night? Perhaps you have a drink of water and go back to sleep. Maybe you go and wake up someone else. In our story today, a little boy called Samuel keeps waking up. Samuel lives in the temple where Eli is a priest. His job is to help old Eli, not keep waking him up. Let's open the book and read Samuel Hears a Voice. Now that God's people were living in their own country, there were so many things God wanted to tell them. How to be happy, how to take care of each other, how to protect themselves from their enemies. So God decided to choose someone to speak for him. Someone he could talk to, who would then go and talk to the people. Someone called a prophet. God looked and looked all over the land of Israel, eager to pick just the right person. And finally he found him in the village of Shiloh, in the house of Eli the priest, a little boy. Samuel, God called one night. Samuel, I want to talk to you. Samuel sat up and rubbed his sleepy eyes. He'd never heard God's voice before, and he thought that old Eli was calling him. Samuel stumbled out of bed into Eli's room to see what he wanted. But Eli just shooed him back to bed. Samuel, Samuel, listen to me, God called again. Samuel was confused this time and a little scared, so he crept back to Eli's room. I told you, boy, yawned Eli. I didn't call you. Now off to bed. Samuel didn't know what to think as he crawled under the covers. But when God called again, Samuel, Samuel, for the third time, he knew what to do. He dashed back to Eli just as fast as he could go. Oh, Samuel, sighed Eli, if either of us is going to get any sleep tonight, we need to find out who's calling you. And I have an idea who it might be. So, the next time you hear that voice, I don't want you to come running in here. Instead, I want you to say, "Speak, Lord, and I will listen." Samuel's eyes opened wide. You mean it's God who's calling me? Do as I tell you and we'll find out. So Samuel went back to bed. God called his name again. Samuel, Samuel. This time, Samuel stayed there and listened to God, and his eyes opened wide with wonder. And from that moment until Samuel was himself an old man, God talked to Samuel, giving him messages to pass on to the people. And just like the first time, God's messengers never failed to leave him wide-eyed with wonder. Samuel was called a prophet, just like Moses. Can anyone remember what a prophet was? The story explained it like this: someone who God chose to speak for him, someone he could talk to, who would then go and talk to the people and pass on God's messages. There are many prophets in the Bible, and Samuel was one of the first. Now I would like you to close your eyes and imagine what God's voice might have sounded like to Samuel? Do you think it was very loud and booming? Or was it very soft and gentle? Now I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, thank you for talking to Samuel, even though he was a little boy. Help us to remember that you talk to everybody, children and grown-ups. Please help us to listen to you today. Amen. Well, I hope you've liked the story. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.